Yay! I think every single one of our on-air things starts out with me going, yay!
Yay!
I'm going to go back and look now just to find out. Okay. Oh, you know what we didn't do? The intro thing.
Oh, we're online. Oh, we're live. Oh,
We're live.
hello, world.
We're live. Hello, world.
We're going to talk about Spectre and Meltdown and all kinds of other awesome stuff on tonight's Iron Sysadmin episode 33.
Ah! That was fun. Oh, wait. I'm not even drinking.
Don't make me mute you.
This is water.
Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. All right, folks, the gang is back together in case you couldn't tell. Get ready for a train wreck of a podcast.
And we're live officially. Have been.
We need a train wreck emoji.
Oh, I have one.
Emoji.
Recently, I've added that to another channel.
Dustin's the master of emojis on Slack.
We
so
need a train wreck
sure
emoji for the Slack
I have
channel.
one
By the
that's
way,
animated,
folks,
too. Hold on.
our Slack channel for Iron Sysadmin is entirely too quiet. We need more people that are more chatty and like train wrecks. So, ironsysadmin.com/Slack. I think that's what I used. Should still work. Go there.
Look,
and
people, I understand. Believe me, you're not on enough Slacks.
Become Slackified.
You have to have more Slack channels than you have the ability to command number.
Let's see here.
Yeah,
Is it 9?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm on 13.
I have
Wow.
7 that I'm actively logged into. And there's at least 3 I can think of that I just don't log into anymore.
Agreed. I think I have 8 actively logged. Yeah, 8, and the others I'm just kind of a member for reasons when necessary.
They're all very
Support.
valid reasons. Every single one of them is very important.
I have 7 that I'm active on, not just actively logged in. Like I have to be active on.
Have to be?
Damn.
Well, I mean,
Aren't
it's
we
useful
important?
if I am because they're important to every. Like they're all relevant.
Aren't we just important?
No, I'm just saying I'm really busy. So what's new?
Okay.
I feel like I haven't done this in a year.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely 2017 the last time you guys decided to grace us with your presence. Freaking trip to Puerto Rico or something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's okay. We had an awesome episode with Danny. I guess I'm going to close Slack. Can I turn off notifications somehow here?
Oh, oops.
Dear Slack. Dear Slack,
thing.
how do I make you quiet? Messages and media, maybe?
Slack. I cannot be quieted.
Doesn't look that way. All right, guess I'm going to close Slack. Good night, Slack. Okay. Beer.
Beer.
Okay. So we have lots of awesome news for tonight. And then for the main section, we have news. So it's going to be the whole night full of news.
News,
Right?
and more news.
News, and more news. News and
Okay.
news.
I like news.
So do you guys know of a company called Lenovo?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You remember where like Lenovo spun out of, sort of? Because they bought like their entire...
IBM was Lenovo
Yeah.
was IBM, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they were IBM. Lenovo
I mean, they were
exists.
spun out of
They bought-
IBM. I mean,
Yes.
Lenovo existed, and then IBM started selling off their desktop and laptop line to Lenovo. Then they sold off their server line to Lenovo. So this includes like all of their like Blade Center and whatnot. So do you remember a company called Nortel?
yes, I
Yeah.
have
Remember-
much scar tissue from that.
You remember what happened to Nortel?
They went the way of the dodo.
Yeah, they kind of went away, and some of their technologies got bought up. Part of what got bought up was their switching by
Drum roll.
By
Come
Lenovo,
on.
which is interesting because I didn't know that Lenovo ever had switches.
They didn't get bought by Lenovo. They got bought by IBM.
Okay, but
So when
Same difference.
Lenovo bought up, or when Lenovo acquired IBM's Blade Center lineup, along with it came these integrated switches that were originally made by Nortel. Nortel running this ENOS, I guess,
Enterprise Network Operating System.
Enterprise
Oh, yeah.
Network Operating System.
You know it's good because it has Enterprise in the name.
Yeah, you know
Yes.
what else it has? You know what else it has in the name? Well, not in the name. You know what else it has? A backdoor.
Doors. Yeah.
A back
Backdoors.
A backdoor from 2004.
Now, how was this backdoor discovered, Nate?
Apparently, Lenovo decided to do a code review as a result of some other acquisition they were doing, or maybe they were being acquired. I don't know. The details, were they in here? No, right, blah blah blah.
I don't think
blah.
so.
No, it says
Those
the
are
backdoor effects, rack switch, blade center switches, ENOS Enterprise backdoor was added here. Lenovo claims Nortel appears to have authorized the addition of the backdoor at the request of a BSSBU. I don't know what that stands for.
Nortel
OEM
Blade Server Switch
Blade
Business Unit.
Server Switch Business Unit.
Blade Server Switch Business Unit. Okay.
So Nortel had a customer who asked if they would put a backdoor in
Yeah.
their software, and Nortel said, "Of course we will. Why
wonder who
would
that
they
was.
do such a thing?" And then they added.
Here it is. Here it is. The Chinese company said it found the backdoor after an internal security audit of firmware for products added to its portfolio following the acquisitions of other companies. So when they bought up Blade Center from IBM, apparently they eventually went through a code review, and this was the outcome. They
Now-
found a backdoor from 2004.
They didn't say who requested the backdoor, but they've named the backdoor as
The
they named it-
BSSBU did.
No, right.
Fizboo.
No. Somebody at the
Fizboo.
request of a BSSBU OEM customer.
Ah,
So
see.
another company had asked for this, and they didn't say who that company was. They just happened to refer to the backdoor as the HP backdoor.
Yeah, it's totally coincidental. That's just the letters in the alphabet they were up to when they named the thing.
Yep.
Well, even if it is that, a company that has a similar name, maybe it was used for a single pane of glass management framework where the idea was you just put it all together. It doesn't matter if it's,
Oh my God.
that company or IBM, it can manage it.
Hey, Nate, I'd like to request a new feature for the podcast. Can we have a stab button? Push the stab button.
When someone
Stab
starts,
one of the co-hosts.
when someone
hold on.
starts
Repeatedly.
doing those
Oh.
words,
No.
Oh, that wasn't very effective. And that is the no button.
Ah, boy. Yes. So raise your hand if you knew that Lenovo sold switches.
yeah,
I don't see any hands. Raise your hand if you knew that Lenovo still
I can't-
sold switches.
I can't raise my hand. I'm pouring a beer.
Blink twice.
Very.
That was 3 times. So Nate didn't know either. Okay. Now repeatedly bang your head against the table if you've put a Lenovo switch in your network.
That is the response.
Yeah. I believe the name of the fix for this is version where do they have that? 1.2.3. Oops. Yeah.
No, I mean we're beating up Lenovo over this. Keep in mind they only acquired this pile of crap and they're fixing it.
Yeah, well, understood. I do rack switch and blade center switches support various authentication methods via SSH, Telnet.
Telnet's
Yes,
great, man.
Telnet.
Good old Telnet.
Gotta have
People
it.
still have why?
FTP,
Question
baby.
2,
as
is
well.
Telnet disabled by default on all their switches?
No,
I
Probably
understand there's reasons to have it on there. I get it.
It's all about the accessibility, man. So, I mean, there is good news. The backdoor is hard to exploit.
Yes.
The so-called HP backdoor is not a hidden account, but an authentication bypass mechanism that occurs under very strict conditions. Rack switch and blade center switches support various authentication masses via SSH, Telnet, and web-based interface. And serial console. Can't forget serial console. Attacker can exploit the backdoor bypass authentication, blah, 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 blah. What was the reference to the switches? Am I missing this?
Oh, we were making a joke about the dip switches.
Oh, that was a joke. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, because they said in the article it has to be a specific configuration of
Yeah.
a security mechanism, some on, some off. So I said, oh, it's like the dip switch. You know, it only works if it's a certain sequence.
Okay.
Anyways. Yeah.
So it's difficult
But
to
it does affect
exploit.
the switches. Indeed.
Unless you have it configured in the way that makes it exploitable, I suppose. So yeah, if you've got Lenovo, IBM, or Nortel switches in your network,
And you're managing them.
You may want to patch them.
Oh, Jason's broken.
Oh
What?
boy.
Oh no, he's reading something.
I'm sorry. I made the mistake of clicking on their security advisory
Why did you do that?
because
hey.
it said it identifies how what the special parameters are to
Oh, does
get
it
this to
Good.
work.
Let's see.
Hang on, because you guys are sitting down, right?
Welcome
Yeah.
to the rabbit hole, folks.
Well, apparently, and maybe I'm reading this wrong. Please, guys, tell me I'm reading this wrong. For any of LDAP, Radius, or TACACs that are enabled, okay, disable the related backdoor and secure backdoor local authentication failback settings.
These are just settings you can turn on. There's a backdoor
Okay.
setting. Check
They
the box that says
discovered-
backdoor, and there's a backdoor.
Hang on. They discovered there's a backdoor, and the name. I'm sorry.
The name
So
of the
much for
option.
the family-friendly
is-
podcast. The name of the fucking option is backdoor.
And secure backdoor. At least I have a secure backdoor.
Listen,
I mean,
listen,
that's important. It's all about
obviously,
security, guys.
It's just a wording thing. It's not really a backdoor.
It's a
Somebody
feature.
please tell. If anybody out there has a Lenovo Switch, please tell me I'm reading this wrong.
Wow.
Oh, disable Telnet is on the list of things you should do. Awesome.
Yeah.
Restrict physical access to the serial console port.
Put glue in it. Put a little hole of glue.
It's like if your Nortel Switch is sitting at the receptionist desk with the console port exposed to the world.
Wait, for clarity, references to backdoor and secure backdoor in the mitigation strategy for customers section refer to local authentication failback mechanisms and not the authentication bypass mechanism described in this advisory.
What?
Backdoor
Authentication
in the
bypass
authentication fallback context is an industry standard term used when configuring Radius and TACX Plus. It is?
What?
Okay.
Wow. Wow. Whose industry is this? Are we still talking
There's
about
an industry
Nortel?
standard term called backdoor. Are we talking about the right industry? Because I know of an industry where that is a common term.
Oh, sure.
It's not IT though.
It's weird. If I search for Radius and backdoor, the third thing that pops up is IBM Blade Center.
You're running IBM Blades. You're a target.
Backdoor username and password.
It's
I've
backdoor.
never heard it. I've never heard it called
Open
that
as the-
anywhere.
It's backdoor with an O, with 0.
Password open sesame.
Oh boy, guys, help! We need to move to the next story. I'm like way down the rabbit hole here.
Fine. WPA 3.
It's
Just
the-
far down the rabbit hole and need to be pulled back out. You want to go ahead and take this one?
It's the local username and password that you configure.
No,
it's just
he's not.
it's just the local auth.
He's not.
That's what
He
the
hasn't.
backdoor is. All right, I had to find out. Okay,
Someone get some
WPA3.
repelling. Someone get some repelling gear. We need to go down the rabbit hole after
Dude,
Jason.
we're already at the bottom. We're already at the bottom.
yes, we decide we're not going to go down the rabbit hole, and you give me the WPA3 article.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so you heard of this this thing called Wi-Fi? It might catch on one of these days. All the kids are doing it.
Is that a Wi-Fi cable? Does it require a cable?
Yes, you use the Wi-Fi cable to connect to the wireless network.
Okay.
So this Wi-Fi, so how come I still have to plug my laptop in? Anyway, the Wi-Fi Alliance,
Sorry.
those guys that totally run all the Wi-Fi's, have announced the next generation protocol they're calling WPA3 because we should probably just continue with this.
Is this the Wi-Fi cable?
Yes, it is.
That's the physical Wi-Fi cable you use.
The physical Wi-Fi.
So WPA3 will replace WPA2. Big surprise.
Really? I
yeah.
thought maybe the numbers were backwards or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
Wait, shouldn't it technically be WPA2? Don't a race start at 0? We
I'm
went
gonna
to
sit.
WPA and then WPA2.
I'm gonna sit way back here and drink. You read.
Jason's broken again.
I'm starting to question the veracity of this particular news source.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hang on. You ready?
It is from the Hacker News, after all.
However, WPA2 has long been considered to be insecure due to its common security issue, that is, unencrypted open Wi-Fi networks.
What?
I don't.
That's not a security issue in WPA2. That is a misconfiguration.
Oh yeah, so it means you haven't turned on WPA2. But okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
so we talked about the crack attack on the podcast a couple months ago, which is
I think we did.
It's the key reinstallation attack.
Yes.
Where basically you just reuse an existing key, or tell the system that you're going to reuse an existing key, and it goes through all of the security checks and says, okay. So WPA3 is going to do some new stuff. The first bullet point they have here is actually fairly interesting. So they're saying it's going to do individual data encryption. So I wonder if that means that each endpoint is going to have its own encryption key, which is an interesting way to go about things. I guess CPUs have gotten to the point where we could possibly do that without causing a meltdown.
Sure, why not?
Or maybe not. Let's see. It's going to protect against brute force dictionary attacks, which doesn't seem like a protocol thing, but okay. It's going to have the next generation of WPS, otherwise known as simplified security for devices that have no display for configuring security, i.e. the button that always causes problems.
The button
and
you
they're
should
going to
disable.
use they're going to use 192-bit security.
Listen, if the security isn't convenient, it's not security. No one's going to use it.
So we're going to up the bits.
We're going to up the bits.
More bits.
We're going to up the bits and protect against the open, unprotected Wi-Fi.
Opportunistic wireless encryption. Encryption without authentication.
I wonder
what? Encryption without authentication. This sounds.
You know what would be neat.
Sounds bad.
I have obviously not read whatever the write-up is of this, but what would be cool is if if the network is open by default, and when you connect, you can negotiate WPA3 settings.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be interesting.
You know what they call that?
They
call that VPN.
Well, you could do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make all the Wi-Fi's open, and then
the Wi-Fi's.
Yeah, but VPN is you to some third party place or your own server. But
it doesn't have to go to some third party. It could go anywhere you want it to. Depends where the VPN is configured. But Android does this now. Ever since like Android 6 or 7, it'll automatically connect to open Wi-Fi and then automatically connect you to a VPN that takes you to Google. Which, I mean, sure, you then have to trust Google, but at least you're not trusting some random open Wi-Fi.
Yep, trust the Googles.
Trust the Googles. Look, listen, I have a Pixel. The Googles already have all my data anyway.
They know about you. They know when you sleep.
I don't have a Pixel, and they still have all my data.
Yeah, they probably do. So does the Face.
The Face of Books, Book of Faces.
So I wanna just a quick aside here. I want to start a tally. All right. So our first article was from Bleeping Computer, which we neglected to mention, and in the sidebar, as you might expect, there's a link to an article about Spectre and Meltdown. The Hacker News, which is our second article for the night, in the sidebar, there's a link to a article about Spectre and Meltdown.
Now, do we want to count the number of articles on a site or just one? Because Bleeping Computer
Maybe.
technically has two.
Are there two? Or there's two
I
on
think
Bleep?
so.
Okay. Okay. So does that mean that they're ahead? But we have two articles from the Hacker News. So does that count for two or one? It's hard to say.
Let's just count it one per site. Let's just only give them credit once.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, was someone going to say something useful? Because I interrupted that.
No, it's just a.
Bleeping Computer has a better article on WPA3.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
why didn't you put that one in the show notes when you suggested it, Dustin?
Because I got excited.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Sorry. Quality.
Okay. Are we moving along or are we continuing on
We're
WPA3?
moving along. So the WPA3 is going to make the things better.
Yes.
WPA3 is going to make
other
the things
news,
better. And
open
the
source.
Intel AMT. No, the Intel AMT. You missed. Are we out of order?
I did.
No. Totally. Look at the show
Totally.
notes, man. Look at the
Man.
show notes.
No, you look at the show notes.
Actually, no, they're not in the show notes. Where is it? Oh, I'm out of order. No.
You're out of order. Open source tools.
Open source
Jeez.
tools.
I
20
think
years
maybe
old.
for
Okay,
some
look.
people,
Here we
things-
go. There's no sidebar of links on InfoWorld.
No, there's not.
I am
That's
surprised. This is a surprisingly clean page. If you guys want an ad-free reading experience, go to InfoWorld.
And now they installed ads.
Yeah, right. Now that we said it, there's going to be ads
Yep.
tomorrow.
All right. 20 years on, open source hasn't changed the world as promised. That's a hell of a clickbaity title.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I mean,
Most code remains closed and proprietary, even though open source now dominates enterprise platforms. How can that be? I will admit I have not read this whole article.
it is rather long, and I haven't
it-
taken the time to read the whole thing either.
It is a bit long. We are responding, I think, to the clickbaitiness.
That's terrible.
What's interesting?
We're all fired. I'm sorry, guys. This is the last episode.
So
Goodbye.
this a couple of the titles here. Open source has one infrastructure but not software, and they talk about Eric Raymond and the CEO of Red Hat. My immediate thought is yes, open source has clearly one infrastructure. Linux boxes everywhere.
Yep.
It's being used for as web servers, Apache, Nginx, Tomcat, etc. And in some cases, it has absolutely won for websites. I mean, look at WordPress, Drupal. I mean,
Oh yeah,
those are everywhere.
Include it.
If you look at infrastructure, you look at Docker and Kubernetes, that's listed in here. For big data stuff, they list Hadoop and Kafka.
so, I mean,
and
Docker
then
Docker and Kubernetes, you could argue, are infrastructure, though.
That's what I just said. Infrastructure.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry.
Yep. They want to say that applications are closed and proprietary. And my answer to that is, well, yeah, of course they are.
So here's the thing. So if you're talking desktop applications, right? The one failing I have seen time and time again with open source projects is they may have kick-ass code, but their UI always sucks.
Sure.
Almost.
It's engineers. Majority engineers. Yep.
So if you take LibreOffice and put it next to Microsoft Office and then sit someone who just wants to write some word processing or a spreadsheet down, they're going to pick Microsoft Office every time, hands down. Unless they have a conviction that tells them I want to use open software.
I will say that's an unfair comparison too. Only
Why?
Because finding a person who has never used Microsoft Office is
Okay.
If you can get somebody, regardless, Libre's ugly as sin, right?
Walk into any enterprise and say, we're going to run a 100% open source desktop. Here's your new word processor. And when the secretary sits down, I'm sorry, the receptionist or the whatever administrative assistant sits down and opens up what they expect to be a word processor, and they see LibreOffice, you will have just torches and pitchforks.
Right, because they're used to Office. Microsoft is very, very good at penetrating the business world and getting their software out there and making it a standard. There's no doubt. That said, if you put those same people in front of something like Google Docs, they're fine. They have no problem.
I'd argue that they're not. That's also not open source software.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that you can. There are ways to get beyond that, and people are fine, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but again, it's another one that people are just getting used to it.
I work with people that adamantly defy that Google Docs will ever be an accurate replacement for Microsoft Word, because they're so set in their Microsoft Word ways.
Right.
Even though I would argue that like 80 to 90% of what you would do with Microsoft Word is completely doable in Google Docs.
Now, if we talk about Excel, it might be a little different.
Excel's different.
About somebody who's a power user in Excel, I could see that being a big change.
Yeah, I mean, but Excel has what, like 30 years on Google Sheets?
Yeah,
like,
but
that's a lot of development time.
Yeah, but any one of those apps, Excel, Word, I mean, PowerPoint. They're overly complex for what they're supposed to be.
Well, I mean,
Word has more publishing crap in it than it does word processor at this point.
I would argue that that Excel is not overly complex. It is complex because it sort of needs to be.
Well, it can be complex, is what I'm saying. Like some of the ways you would achieve some formula or whatever you're trying to do with that data, I could see somebody having an easier time with Excel versus something like LibreOffice. Because I've tried to use LibreOffice and do simple things, and a lot of it's the same. But then when you try to find like certain structure that's already set up in like a modern version of Excel versus LibreOffice, it's kind of lacking. You kind of have to do a little research on how they grab that data or how they're manipulating it or what have you. I found that to be a struggle because I tried using LibreOffice as a driver and
just as an aside, because you know, we don't say it enough. This beer is one of the best sours I've ever had.
Agreed. That is a good sour.
So good.
So
I also can't get it anymore, but
I picked up on a whim because this sounded really interesting. It is made by Saugatuck Brewing Company, Neapolitan Milk Stout.
Ooh,
I don't know if you can see this, but
Neapolitan, that means it's got strawberry in it. I like it.
It's strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla milk stout, and I just had to try it, and it is good. It is so good.
You know what I saw? Speaking of interesting sweet flavors,
and it's made in Michigan. So Charles, I know you're listening. This is a Michigan beer. Be happy. And I've probably mispronounced it, and he'll tell me as soon as he hears this.
You'll get corrected. Fix it next time.
This one's from California.
I'm sorry.
We were talking about Word, and I just couldn't. I had a sip of my beer. It was just amazing.
You're right. We were talking about Word. Another good example would be something like GIMP versus Photoshop.
Well, that's. I mean, that's yeah.
Or I mean, I've been doing some video editing lately for another project I'm working on, and I've been using an open source tool called Kdenlive, which is like a KDE application, which you can just like yum install inside of your Fedora box, and it worked pretty well until it didn't. I kept having like these weird crashes and UI problems, and I found another application called Lightworks, which is free for use but not open source. And you know what? It works. It just works. It works so much better.
I think the issue that you see is with the more complex software like that is it doesn't pay to build it.
Yeah.
Right. So say
because someone's already got that market. Now GIMP is good. Don't get me wrong. I can use GIMP. I can use GIMP and Photoshop almost interchangeably. And I've been using, as a hobbyist, I've been using Photoshop for probably 20 years.
Right.
Switching to GIMP was a learning curve, but once I got into it and figured out where all the pieces were, it's a really good application.
It totally is.
But
it's pretty solid.
Like Kdenlive is like a toy compared to Lightworks.
There's no money in it. People don't want to build stuff like that.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
I mean, if you look at Linux and some of the stuff that's out there, they're passion projects. They're not meant to make money. They were literally passion projects. And I'm sure there's passion projects for artists as well. From what my experience is that watching an engineer with a passion project, you know, they'll just go at it all day long, and front ends are irrelevant because they're usually back end people. When you
Yeah.
get into wanting to deal with UI and UX, that's a whole different ballgame. Now you need people that know how to do that, and a lot of them are taken. Like a lot of them are just they're doing other things. Open source is not something that they're that interested in. They have enough to do with their day jobs. And that's
True.
not to say an engineer doesn't either, but you know, everybody knows engineers don't sleep.
Yep. Indeed, they don't.
So
Like
I'm sure,
like when we talked about the birth of text messaging, they don't
Right.
go to the Christmas party either.
and that is not everyone, right? That's not
No.
that's not, you know, a universal truth. There are some amazing open source projects that
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah,
UIs
I
are
don't
just out of this world. It's just not.
I don't
it's
wanna-
not good across the board.
I don't want to try to say that like open source is bad, because obviously I do enjoy open source. In fact, I'm on a Fedora box right now doing the podcast because I prefer it over the platforms that are available, you know, that are not open. Mac OS is about the thing that comes the closest to me not absolutely hating it. Windows, God, I can't use a Windows box anymore. I sit down at a Windows box and I just feel like I'm
Cringe.
already infested
But you
with
can-
viruses.
You can push a button and have a
Freeware.
Linux, an Ubuntu Linux subsystem installed for you,
Yeah.
and you'll be all comfortable
me.
and nice and happy.
Yeah. Now that's great and all, and I'm very happy that exists now, but it is not what I need.
Speaking of that, I recently installed PowerShell for Mac.
Yeah.
Wow.
How great is that?
That's all I have to say. It's actually works pretty well, but a lot of the things that I was trying to use it for Microsoft products, they don't make a plugin for it, anything outside of Windows, because it requires things like Edge and such. So it's kind of useless for me. So there goes
Yeah,
the Windows.
that whole run this script and
Yeah.
it'll pop up a window in Edge for you, so you can log.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have Edge.
Doesn't
Well,
work
it's
so
not
when you
gonna
have
work.
Edge, huh?
You're missing
Yeah,
it.
you don't have
DLL.
Edge. We can't use an API or something. You need Edge. It has to have Edge.
That's what I said. Come
Right.
on.
Right, because Edge works differently than web browsers.
Yes, Edge works differently than a web browser.
And it's not even a full browser. It's a pop-up window. It's like, come on, give me a break. Anyways, back
All
to
right,
VM.
moving on from open source, let's talk about some closed source.
Let's
all right.
talk about some processors. I mean,
All
I would
right.
have thought that
Well,
processors.
it's closer. It's closer to the processor. It's not quite.
This is-
the
It's
processor.
it's closer to the processor, but it's not so closed. It's more
Hey,
open than anything.
We have another Hacker News, which also has a link to the Spectre and Meltdown.
It's a good one too.
So have you seen this Intel AMT thing?
Yes.
The management.
Something I've never installed the
active
drivers for, but I
management
didn't-
technology.
Never heard of it.
Yes.
So if you're a desktop guy, you've probably heard of this. Turns
And,
out,
and if you're a processor guy, you're hiding under a desk right now.
and since you don't have enough to worry about, surprise.
Here's another. It's happy 2018.
So
Just when we thought the year could be any worse.
you can bypass the login process and take complete control over a user's device through the AMT system in under 30 seconds.
You say,
But
what
can
if the
I do
computer's
it?
off?
Can I do it over Telnet?
No,
No.
I don't think so. No, I think you need physical access.
Okay.
But this bypasses user, BIOS, BitLocker, and TPM pin codes.
So, okay,
How can
TPM
it-
pin codes I get because it's like a similar product, right? It's in the similar hardware space. But like, come on, BIOS, BitLocker, really?
How can
Really?
it bypass BitLocker?
Well, BitLocker isn't truly a whole drive encryption solution, isn't it? Isn't it only just the whatever's inside of the drive that you're selecting, the C drive? The system
still,
reserve
it's-
drive, I don't think is encrypted.
It's encrypted.
I could be wrong. Yeah, but if you store the encryption key in AMT, which a lot of people do because it requires AMT processor for some method, I guess, I think that's how you could probably bypass it, because you
Oh
can
my
store pretty much
God.
anything you want in AMT. Because it's meant to be a management solution for remote management. HP has a suite that integrates with it too. I remember years ago. Kind of freaky.
It doesn't seem to really explain it here. I'm guessing AMT somehow. I've never used it, so I'm not positive. But based on what they're saying, it sounds like this somehow integrates with Windows as well. That's the only way that you would bypass BitLocker.
Does it? You have to install a driver for it, I believe.
Yeah. The management engine does. I haven't used it myself, but that's my understanding. There's a driver you install in Windows.
Oh,
right.
And
so now that I've logged in with AMT, now it just bypasses everything, and I get an admin access right on the box, which is
awesome. But
here's another good part too, and I'll send this to you. You can also do this with the computer being off via a web interface.
If the computer's off,
you can use a KVM feature available inside of the Intel AMT web panel, which runs at the hardware level, allowing systems to really take control of the whole system and perform tasks like, executing a program, using serial over LAN, which is your power on, off, reboot, reset, BIOS setup for editing, all sorts of fun stuff.
So this particular exploit, you power the computer up and hit Control P during boot, which bypasses everything. It jumps right into the it's good for
penetrate.
Have you been waiting all night for that?
Yes, he has. He's been like, P. Okay, I got a perfect joke for that. Come on, someone say it. Someone say it.
So you log into the
someone finally said
Intel Management Engine BIOS extensions with a default password. So it sounds like if you have if they haven't changed the password for the management engine, then you can do this. Otherwise, it may be different.
Okay.
But the default password is admin.
Ooh, awesome. What else would it be? What else would it be?
Right. And then you can access the system remotely. So now, if I don't have AMT installed, drivers and everything else installed, this is completely pointless.
It depends. I mean, you can use it as another method to control a computer that you're trying to exploit, like the whole blinking HD deal, right? Of communication. You can at least use it to power on a machine, right? You may not have access to it, but if you already have it infected with that, whatever that was, you remember what that was called with the LED blinking? What was that?
Oh, you mean the one where they were using data exfiltration by watching the LED blink?
Yes.
Like, it was actually, I can see the hard drive LED, so I'll make the LED blink.
Let me fly a drone up to that level,
or whatever.
And, watch it. Yeah, exactly.
Because nobody will notice a drone outside their office window.
Well, it's after hours. Poor desktop management practices.
Could you imagine the amount of time it would take to transmit anything relevant over like Morse code, essentially, and having the right lighting to do it? Because I think that could also cause like errors. Have you ever flown a drone?
They're a pain in the ass. Well, I've flown a cheap drone, put it that way.
How long do their batteries last?
Depends. If you modify it,
a couple minutes. Couple minutes tops.
Depends on the drone. You can get drones that last a while.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Lots of batteries too.
Anyway,
the point of like more batteries.
If you're using AMT, change your passwords
or patch it.
Good.
Or both.
Or both. I mean, if the password is admin, I would change it anyway. Whether you're patching or not, change that damn password.
But now I have to remember another password, guys. There's like no solution to remember passwords.
Make it admin with a 1. I don't care.
It does not say that there is a patch available yet. So
why would
go change your passwords?
Why would there be?
It says. Oh, okay. Sorry. Gotcha. I misread that.
They've been notified, but there's no patches yet. So
yeah.
Moving right along.
We're gonna take you back in time tonight.
If I could turn back time.
You're looking at are we all looking at the right article this time? There's no sidebar in this one.
Yes, we're looking at the right article.
Okay. This is an article from
EFF.
the Electronic Frontier Foundation. You may recall 4 years ago. What is it? 4 years ago on the 18th?
This article is a year old, right?
11th.
Is it? Holy shit! How did that happen?
I don't know. You put it in there.
Huh.
What happened?
So 5 years ago. Remember 5 years ago?
Oh, you know what? That makes sense because the link I followed said it was 5 years, and then I started reading the article. I'm like, no, it's only 4. What's going on? Because the article's from a year ago. Huh. Well, it's still relevant because we're talking about something that happened 5 years ago now instead of 4. Anyway, 5 years ago.
6 years ago.
Six.
Math
wanna
is
read
hard.
this?
13, so
Can you
eight,
can you just
eight.
can you just read
Oh
this?
no. Okay, got it. So it's I understand what's going on.
6 and 5.
Yep.
6 and 5.
That's five years ago since okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
passed.
they're
Go ahead.
Yep.
so yes, so it's 6 years ago since
All right. So since we're burying the lead
Online
so much.
Privacy Act and the Protect IP Act, correct?
Yep. SOPA and
Hit that.
5
Hit
years
that.
ago, since Aaron Schwartz, who was influential, or what's the word I'm looking for? Instrumental. That's the word I'm looking for. Instrumental in organizing the online protests and demand progress to get those two bills killed. Committed suicide after being improperly, or I should say, unfairly prosecuted under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. So, yeah, it's been. Let's see. It says that was on January 11th, 2013.
Yep.
So yeah, 4 years ago. Is that not 4 years ago?
5 years ago. 4 years for the article.
It's 2018.
Oh, you're right. It is. I'm thinking it's
You need
2017.
to put a tack on that 7 Casey. Start typing it the right way.
Totally 5 years ago.
201. Ow, no, 8.
Oh,
We are not doing this justice. Should we just start over again?
Yes.
All right. So 5 years ago, Aaron Schwartz committed suicide after being relentlessly pursued by the government in a case against him about,
JSTOR,
stealing
wasn't
and exfiltrating a ton of research articles.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think I made this argument then too. Yes, he broke the law.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not a good thing to do.
Yep. Interestingly enough, the company that he broke the law and stole the articles from didn't want to pursue this, and the government did it anyway. So there's that.
He was totally a badass hacker, and he had to be punished.
Could also be said with the more recent, was it last year? I still haven't heard the story of. Huh?
Let me make sure you guys heard my sarcasm tags around that. I do not believe that he was fairly prosecuted.
No, not at all.
I'm simply stating that, yes, he did break the law. However, the punishment that he was facing, the punishment he was facing was far
more extreme than it should have been.
Far more extreme than it should have been.
Yep.
Words to do him justice, and I'm just failing horribly. So
yeah, well, I mean, I never met the guy. I
Neither
understand he was a little bit weird in his own way, but apparently a hell of a guy. So
Yep.
Yeah.
it's worth reading. If you don't know who he is, read the article, find out. It's worth remembering him.
Yep.
Wasn't there somebody last year that got hit really hard? Similarly, but it wasn't around research articles. It was around just pure threat research. And they basically arrested him outside of DEF CON.
Malwarebytes.
Yeah.
But
that's
again,
right.
again,
but we don't know the story back behind him.
Aren't you talking about
Malwarebytes.
No, not malware.
Or no,
malware tech blog.
Malware tech blog.
Why the hell can't I remember his name now? Marcus.
Yes, Marcus.
Yes.
That's right. Again, given current information that's out there, probably broke the law at one point.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like that was an active thing going on now. Sounds like it was something in the past.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. He's still fighting that, from what I understand.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
He's also stuck in California.
Stuck in California?
He can't leave the US.
He's from the UK. He's not allowed to leave the US.
He can't leave the US. They took his passport, so he can't leave. So without his passport, he can't get a driver's license. So he's stuck in California with no mode of transportation. He's basically like on foot and whatever. He also doesn't have access to all of the things he needs to be able to do his job because of what he's been accused of. So
did they enact that on him to like prevent him from touching a computer for so many years or whatever? There's like some law that's
I don't know if it's to that level, but
he's been on Twitter, so he can clearly touch a computer of some sort.
Yeah,
true.
Right. But
I guess
he can't be involved in the various communities that he was using to do his research.
Yeah.
He was on Rally like 2-3 months ago.
Oh,
and they talked all about this.
Another podcast I haven't got up to either.
What sort of restrictions that he's under and whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, it sounds like he's doing okay, but he's definitely like as far as I could tell, he's not able to do the work that he normally does. So how he's living, I don't know. Is that whatever? Obviously, he's doing something to survive, so that's cool. But yeah, he was picked up outside of DEF CON, and fortunately, he was not treated quite as poorly as Aaron Swartz appears to have been.
Hard to say because I'm sure he's
absolutely,
gagged
absolutely. It's hard to say, but well, I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't have all the details.
Yep.
So anyway, yes, everyone who doesn't remember this, you should go read the article. It was one of the few sort of turning points in the technology world that I was around to witness, and it was a big deal. A sad day.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, well, that concludes the news for tonight. So let's get on into, some mindless banter instead, right?
Actually.
What? Tell me you have another article.
No, we did. We just did it out of order, and I didn't realize it until after because I was out of order too.
What did I miss?
The DNS hijacker.
Oh, I thought we were skipping that. Okay.
I thought we were skipping it too.
Oh, it's in the list. I figured we were doing it. We don't have to. We can skip it.
Guys,
this is DNS hijacker. It's on Mac OS. Mac OS can get malware too. Okay, so moving on.
Really?
No, you are lying.
I tried to do it quick so you could move on, and you guys just want to talk about it.
You're lying. All right, I'm going to make it official. macOS cannot get viruses. I'm sorry. This is what the internet tells me.
I think wasn't there a special edition transition sound clip you were going to use, or are we not?
That's for when we go into the main topic. You guys will get to hear.
Oh, we're not going into the main topic.
No, this is where I know you guys
blow the surprise.
I know you guys have not been on the podcast in like a month, but this is where we talk
in order. See, there's news and then announcements,
this
and
is
then
where we have announcements.
And then main topic.
Man.
Okay.
Fired.
Okay.
I'm already fired.
So speaking of announcements, on episode 30, which was the episode I believe we had Dave Kennedy on, I decided to try switching our format from MP3 to OGG because, I don't know, I noticed some digitization in the MP3 and I wanted to see if OGG didn't have it. It wasn't there long enough for me to really notice if the problem was solved or not. However, we've had one or two reports of people who cannot play the OGG files on their iPhone and iPad, which I know you two are both users. I don't know if you can verify any of this, but
I cannot confirm or deny.
Don't listen to the podcast because I'm on it.
Well, I thought maybe you'd at least know if you could listen to OGG Vorbis on your
by default, I don't think so.
Okay, so at any rate, as of this show, we're going to be switching back to MP3 because the benefit was not stark enough that I'm going to make people try to use OGG in order to listen to the show. I just assumed that everyone could listen to it, and apparently not. So we'll be switching back to MP3 with the show. If you guys,
it's a bunch of stuff online that says it can't play OGG. So.
Okay, so if anybody missed episodes 30, 31A, 31B, and 32, you can go listen on a computer. You should be able to, if you really want to hear them. But yeah, so 30 was with Dave Kennedy. You probably don't want to miss that. It was a good show. 31A was a short that I had recorded to try to fill in the gap because we didn't record for a bulk of December. 31B was the Podcasters podcast at the end of 2017. And that was a fun time. And 32 was when we had Danny on, which I don't know if you guys have heard any of these, but that is both of you, Jason.
No.
If you didn't, go back and listen. They were good. They were good episodes.
If you are on an iOS device and you want to listen to an OGG Vorbis VLC, which I believe is free.
Oh, yes. Finally had a beta.
Yeah.
Or it's been out of beta for like a year.
VLC plays damn near anything. So it wouldn't surprise me if it handled log. I haven't checked specifically, but that would be my recommendation.
Okay. And the only other thing I wanted to mention about episodes was 31B. I guess I was really tired after the Podcasters podcast because I accidentally linked episode 30 when I released it. So I got 1 or 2 reports of that as well. I guess we only have 1 or 2 listeners because there aren't that many people that reported the problem to me. But that would be the podcast. That's the end of year InfoSec podcast, which we got invited to. I was able to attend, but both Jason and Dustin couldn't. But it was a good time. There were quite a few people on there. It was a good time. Danny was there. We got the hosts of BreakSec were there. Amanda Berlin was there. InfoSec Sherpa was there. C3P Joe was there. It was a good show. It was a good time. So I highly recommend that. So I fixed the link. If your device downloaded episode 30, which was Dave Kennedy, instead of the Podcasters podcast, you should just go and re-download that episode and you should get the right one. If you can't, just go to ironsysadmin.com. You should be able to download it manually. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I toyed with the idea of just releasing it again under a new post, but I thought anyone who did manage to hear it would then hear it again, and that seemed less than nice. So I don't know. Anyway, it should be there now. You should be able to listen to it. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I wanted to say thank you to one of our patrons, Chris. Some months ago, I mentioned on the podcast that he very graciously reached out to me and said that he was very sorry, but he couldn't give us money anymore because of some life events. And he's recently rejoined us. So I wanted to say thanks for making good on your word and coming back. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you very much.
Does that mean he got rid of his life?
I guess.
Wow.
That's dedication.
We have very few patrons, and we make pretty much just enough to pay. I've been putting our episodes up on an S3 bucket so that they download a little faster than they can over the cable modem I have here. We pretty much make just enough through Patreon to pay that every month, and sometimes I make enough to get some beer. So I got some beers this month with what was left over from the Patreon thing. So with Chris's donation, this should help offset that a little more. It's still not enough to really do anything meaningful, but at least it's something. So thank you to everyone who gives us money. If you feel like you want to help us produce this podcast in a monetary way, just look us up on Patreon. So that's that for announcements. What you guys been up to in the past month? How was Christmas? How was New Year's? How was freaking Puerto Rico?
Not bad.
Not bad. Nothing.
It was a lot of work, a lot of stress. But ended 2017 right. I think, as many of other people have said, 2018 should be off to a good start, but it's already, it's already proving to be wild and unexpected. But
Spectre, meltdown, AMT.
Even outside of that, shit happens.
So, for a variety of reasons, I don't talk about work online at all on social media, podcasts, etc. But suffice it to say, I have been ungodly busy, more so than I've been in any other time in my entire life. It's been kind of crazy. Holidays were holidays. I had a couple days off and hit the ground running on the other side. So it's been busy, really busy,
but good.
Yeah, I mean, busy is not necessarily bad as long as you enjoy.
No.
If it's busy and stressful, that's a problem.
No, it's been probably been more stressful than necessary. I'm making changes to fix that, but it hasn't. I've had much more stress in other places.
Oh hell yeah, totally.
we've Nate, we've both been in that place. So
yep. I remember. It wasn't that stressful for me. I wasn't high enough up the food chain to be stressed.
I was high enough that it was pretty bad. So
yeah.
But it's been. Yeah, it's we're working on removing. I mean, there's just too much to do. Stress as opposed to like bad things happen.
No,
stress.
believe me, I know that. I know how that works.
but we'll get there eventually.
Too much, not enough track at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. If you go to my Twitter and look at the pinned post, that pretty much explains my life forever.
You're on
Yeah,
Twitter? I had
changed,
no
has it?
idea.
I am on Twitter. There's an X in it.
Weird.
There's an X in it.
Oh, it's not the 26th letter of the alphabet?
There's an X in it, and half of it is on the lip of my shoe these days.
Yes.
What?
Oh, I got new sneakers, and I was able to like
Let's
build
say
them.
Xeno?
I got to create them. Yeah,
What? Oh, okay. So you actually put
yeah. It's a Nike thing apparently.
Yeah, Nike
your
ID.
fancy stuff, man.
Something called Nike ID.
Nike is. So is this so like when you're a kid and your mom thinks you're going to get lost, she writes your name in your jacket
Well, in case somebody
It's
steals
just
your
an
shoes.
option.
Those are my
If
shoes,
you're-
Dan.
or something?
If
Yeah.
if you're a kid and your mom's buying you these sneakers, damn.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you have expensive sneakers.
Yeah. Well,
Show off.
I got them. It was a vendor thing.
A
yes.
vendor thing. Okay.
It was a vendor
Nice.
thing. This was sort of a surprise thing. It wasn't like it wasn't something we requested. It just happened to be something that they were doing.
Oh, that's cool.
But you get to, it's neat because they put you in front of this. They put you in front of the computer and you get to choose like the style of the shoe and like every like. Dustin, how many different color choices, like just different specific areas on the shoe were there for colors?
At
was-
least 6 or 7.
No, it was way more than that. It was something like 15
color?
or 20. Yeah. It was like 15 or 20 places on the shoe that you get to choose the color scheme.
I guess so.
Wow.
It was insane.
Oh, so you both got these.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he has his,
yeah.
his. I wasn't cool enough to figure that out the time that we had.
Lucky.
It sounds like he has his in his hand. So talk so
Aha.
people can see you.
Let me go back to the camera. Showing the microphone does not help. It helps if I point it at the camera.
Mm.
Zeno has his stuff here. I'm boring and just did that. But you could do like the inside, the laces, the lace loops, the color, the swipe, custom emoticon, and then the soul.
You didn't put a dumpster fire on the back?
I didn't.
I would have put a dumpster fire on the back.
Wow, I didn't know there was a custom. I didn't have a custom emoticon. I think we got two different types of two different styles.
Yes.
But
They had two
custom
different-
emoticon, I would have totally went for a dumpster fire.
I would have either that or this is fine or any of those, with the that had it. But we had literally like a few minutes because, of course,
Busy.
time is never on our side.
Busy.
You can't
Okay,
spend
so-
forever designing your shoes. You need to fix this server or whatever.
Just
I
as
was like,
a
can I
slight aside,
design this at home? No, you have to pay for them. I'm like, okay, I'll design it now.
I'm on the Nike site right now, just kind of looking around because it's
Yeah.
here, and there's a whole bunch of different types of shoes you can get. There's this thing called the Nike Air Force One,
Ooh,
and I
I'm
just have
looking.
one. I just have one question. What
Go ahead.
the hell is that supposed to be? If you saw this thing, like, I don't understand the design.
Let me see.
It's just on like Nike's website.
Yeah, it's
They have a Chuck Taylor design now. Converse. What?
I don't know.
Why are you looking at Converse? We're talking about Nike.
No,
I'll
custom
send a
Converse
link in
on
the
Nike. I
general
guess it's a Nike
tab
brand
for
now.
everybody to see.
Wow. Yeah, that's a Nike brand
Oh,
now.
because Converse is a Nike brand. I see now. Okay.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Now
I didn't know
I
that.
get it.
I didn't either.
Talk about rabbit holes, guys. Whew.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, now I'm just trying to find Air Force One shoes now because
It's-
I'm on Nike's
Oh, it's not
website.
I thought it'd be more extreme than that. It looks like a shoe from the 90s. Looks like what's his name from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would wear. Yeah, this is a story.
Some of these
Oh.
sneakers are weird. Like, people wear this crap.
You should see some of Puma's stuff. They had speaking of sneakers, they had a 50% off sale on another 20. I think it ends today. They had some
These-
really weird crap on there.
They are. These are 80s high tops.
Yeah. Okay, 80s, not 90s.
Which
Well,
ones?
80s, 90s. The Air Force.
No,
ones.
no. You're missing. Okay, so apparently, Air Force One isn't enough to. Oh, what's the
Oh.
name under it? I'm sorry, Nike Zoom KDX. That's what I'm
Oh.
talking
That is
about.
That's not
I-
Air Force
I
One at
misunderstood how
all.
things were later. Yes.
Nike,
Nike Zoom KDX. Look at that.
Zoom.
Like, what the hell is that supposed to be? I don't understand.
This is like the Nike hour, folks.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this?
It's weird looking. It's
It's
just
an
really
odd looking
weird
shoe.
That's
Have you
oh,
ever?
is it KDX or not KDX? Zoom.
It looks like the entire thing is made out of rubber.
These are
Oh.
basketball shoes. Is that what you're saying? Are we looking at the same shoe here?
I don't know. Is it a basketball? Yes, it's a basketball shoe.
Yeah, I
Weird
mean they're
looking.
odd, but I don't know. I've seen weirder looking running shoes than this.
Okay, fine. Get off my lawn. Let's move on.
I'll get off your lawn. Okay then.
Too late to share this one. Oh well. Anyways, moving on.
So, like a week before Christmas, my wife dropped a laptop on her iPad.
Was it at least an Apple laptop, or what kind of laptop
It
was it? What kind of
was.
damage you're
It
talking?
was.
Wow.
The downside to dropping an Apple laptop on your iPad is that case is hard as hell.
Oh yeah.
It's, solid aluminum.
Was there like an
Airdrop
airdrop
made
transfer
out
that
of metal.
initiated?
Was there what?
An airdrop transfer that initiated when it hit? It was like, boom.
I don't know because it
Yes.
obliterated the screen on the iPad.
That sucks. Sorry, it's still funny to think about. I don't know how this picture got over here.
So yeah.
Sorry, laughing at your expense.
It kind of sucked because I bought her the iPad last year for Christmas, so it lasted about a year, and then she dropped well, I shouldn't say she dropped a laptop on it. The tablet and the laptop were perched a little precariously on the arm of the couch, and they both fell. And it happened that the tablet hit the ground first, and the corner of the case of the laptop right into the screen.
Oof.
So yeah,
that sucks.
I found a replacement screen online because the thing would still power on and you could still see the screen, but it was just completely unusable because the digitizer was just like destroyed. So a couple days ago, I actually got the new screen and installed it. The most nerve-wracking install I have ever done.
Oh yeah, I used to try to
Because,
replace those, and you break a lot of things.
Every step of the way, I'm like, I paid $350 for this thing. I'm going to destroy it. It's already broken, mind you, but I was so freaking paranoid that at any moment it was just going to like catch fire and explode.
Or you break more things.
So
like,
it was the digitizer with the glass attached.
Yep, most likely.
Which makes it, just so you're aware, makes it a really easy install. Try replacing the glass on a phone.
Huh.
Oh well, no.
Heat up the glass so that the glue melts, so that you can then use a piece of like floss to scrape the screen off.
Yeah. That's so I don't know how it works on a phone, but in this case there were two separate modules that I purchased in a kit. One was the digitizer, one was the LCD, because they were both destroyed. Because the laptop hit so hard that when I got the digitizer and the LCD out, there was a dent in the freaking battery. So through the digitizer, through the screen, there was a dent in the battery.
What generation iPad was it?
Yeah. It's an iPad Mini 2.
Why did you not just go buy a new one?
Because I didn't want to spend the amount of money it would take to buy. Well, first, you can't buy another iPad Mini. I looked. They don't sell them anymore. They don't sell Minis anymore. Minis are gone. You could buy a full iPad for like $500, but I didn't want to spend $500. Huh?
You buy an iPad Mini 4 for $400.
That's still more than I wanted to spend, and I didn't see that on their website when I looked.
You just said you spent $350, an extra $50, and not have to go through that pain.
I spent $350 on the tablet when I purchased it a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Details, man. These are details I didn't have a second ago.
Now
it makes more sense.
I spent $80 on the LCD and the digitizer and the little kit to install it. Yeah. So now at this point, the total sunk investment would be enough to buy an iPad Mini 4, plus a little bit. But anyway,
yeah. But I didn't realize that you paid just $80 for just the new stuff.
Yeah. The parts that repair it were like $80, and it came with like things that looked like guitar picks to do the like to get in between the screen with, and there was like I had to use a heat gun to get the screen off. But yeah, it was a very nerve-wracking install. And the whole time that I'm peeling off the old screen, it's just like shattering. Ugh. Because it's already fractured, right? So as I'm prying at it, it's like bits of glass are flying off and pelting me in the face, and it was not a fun thing.
Doesn't sound fun.
But at the end, it worked. I got the screen replaced. I got the digitizer replaced. The new digitizer came with, like, the how-to I was reading was like, oh, now you need to glue the digitizer back in place. I'm like, oh, great, I don't have the glue they want. I'm like, well, I'll do the swap and I'll make sure everything works. And if it all works, I'll go out and get some glue. Well, it already had all the adhesive already on the digitizer, so that was cool. All I had to do was peel off the backing and stick it right on. And now I got a fully functional iPad Mini 2 again. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the fact that it all worked. The only thing that doesn't work is, you know how when you have the Apple magnetic case, when you flop it closed, it'll turn the screen off automatically, and when you open it, it'll turn the screen back on automatically? That doesn't work for some reason.
You killed the magnet.
The magnet is still there.
The sensor.
It's still there.
Magnetic sensor.
There's
Contact.
probably
a sensor that's missing.
I'm guessing there's a light sensor that can tell when it's covered.
Ah, that could be.
And that's, for some reason, not working anymore or not there. So I don't know if I damaged it in the replacement or if the new digitizer somehow doesn't have that sensor. It didn't look like that could be the case. But at any rate, that doesn't work. But other than that, it's completely functional. The camera still works. The new digitizer works. And it came with a screen protector.
Ooh.
How's that? It's like you broke your screen. Here's a screen protector.
Will the screen protector protect from a laptop falling on it?
I'm pretty sure.
Probably not.
I'm pretty sure it won't.
Pretty sure it will not protect from a laptop falling on the screen. So yeah, that's working again, and I'm very happy about that. So here's to the iPad Mini 2.
Here.
All right, the only other thing I wanted to mention, and this is completely unrelated to IT in general, I'm involved in a new project called the Off-Road Network. So if any of you are not just in IT and you like off-road motorsports, check it out. Go search for it on YouTube. The Off-Road Network. It's pretty cool.
The Off-Road Network. Cool.
The Off-Road Network. Yeah, a friend of mine, her husband works in TV, and he's writing, I should say. He's got the bulk of it finished. This software that sort of automates like a TV station, and he's streaming to YouTube. And he was just trying to find like fodder to put up a demo channel so that he could then go to places that he would want to sell the software to or sell licenses for the software to. And yeah, his wife, my friend, was gonna just give him her footage from stuff that she's done off road, and she came to me. She's like, "Hey, we need some more footage." And before you know it, it's like there's 3 or 4 of us involved, and it's actually turning into a thing that it's not just a demo anymore. Now this is gonna actually be a channel, so it should be pretty cool. Right now, it still needs some work, but it's very watchable already, so it's pretty cool. I'll be sure if anybody's really interested in this stuff, anyone in this particular audience is interested in this stuff, I'll update you guys as it comes along. But it should be pretty cool. It'll be like watching an old school TV station instead of on-demand TV like we all watch now.
On demand.
I like on demand.
I know on demand is nice. On demand is nice, but I don't know. There was a certain a certain feel to having to sit down at 7 p.m. on a weeknight to catch your show. That's all gone now.
And all the commercials that you see over and over.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
over
No,
again.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that I miss all that, but
now
I don't know. There was a certain mystique to the whole thing.
There's something interesting that we're talking about this. Households that have the quote unquote cut the cable philosophy, where they've just been using streaming services, they said that they're saving their kids so many hours in their lifetime of commercials by not having a cable TV subscription, which is interesting. I would have never thought of that, but that's a great point.
Yeah, so instead they binge watch My Little Pony.
Yeah, exactly. Or SpongeBob before they lost their primary writer. The good SpongeBob.
Ask me how I know. Because we do not have a cable subscription, and my kids will sit and watch YouTube Kids or Netflix or Hulu for hours on end. So instead of wasting their time watching commercials, they're wasting their time watching content.
You have Hulu though, so you got commercials.
Yeah, well,
no,
right.
you can
But
pay for out without commercials.
it's nowhere near
I have
the
it.
commercials we remember from when we were kids.
My
True.
complaint about Hulu is that it's always it's the same stupid commercials you watch
Yes.
every single time over and
It
over,
is.
and it sucks. Like
It is. It is. If you
commercials
if you
are
binge
okay as long as
watch-
they're unique, but
if you binge watch a show on Hulu, you see the same commercial. If you watch 3 episodes, you'll probably see the same commercial 2 or 3 times, easily. So yeah, they need to work on their commercial algorithm.
Indeed. Well, that's with any sites. I mean, even if you watch stuff on like Cartoon Network's Adult Swim or any of those, it's the same BS ad networks over and over and over again.
Yeah, but you get like 3 or 4 commercials per commercial break, and it's not like every commercial break has the same 3 or 4 commercials. That's what Hulu does. Hulu will play 1 or 2 commercials in between, where the commercial break would have been.
Yeah.
But at the next commercial break, it'll play the same 2 or 3. At the next commercial break, it'll play the same 2
out
or
of the
3.
commercials. You can pay for a non-commercial plan now.
Yeah,
because I know we don't have any commercials on our plan.
I don't think I was aware of that.
Yeah, it came out last year
I
at some point, or the year before, I forget.
yeah,
But you have to
can
pay
get
more for it.
you can get the plan with no commercials. Meh.
It's nice.
I'm not.
I mean,
not
I don't
completely sold on Hulu yet.
I don't mind. I don't mind watching the even repetitious commercials because there's so few of them.
Yeah, depends.
There's
Depends
like
on the
1 or
show,
2
like what
per
network
show.
it is.
It's like 1 or 2 per show. It's not. I don't know.
The recommendations suck though. Like they try to make on Apple TV anyways. They try to make a recommendation for movies and such, and just terrible.
Yeah, they've got Spaceballs on Hulu, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I watched that the other night. I don't have it on DVD, and I haven't seen it in years, and it was awesome to sit down and watch Indiana Jones.
Been a long time for me too.
Good movie. It even still holds up. I mean, yeah, it looks kind of dated, but it was set in the 40s or something anyway, wasn't it?
Maybe. I don't know.
But anyway,
Frizz is broken. Wake up, Frizz.
I'm here.
He's probably reading about something else. All right, so I think we've covered the chat section. Anything else you want to talk about?
No. I'll think about time.
That's a interesting reaction. Ha ha ha! This thing is so funny. I'm not gonna share it.
Nope, not a thing.
Oh no, just funny. Like how much I just looked at the clock. I said, "Yeah, I think chat time's over."
It's only 9:15. What are you talking about?
We still have a lot
to talk about. What time did we go live? 8? I don't know. What's the recorder say?
I think so.
Recorder only says 1 hour and 15 minutes. We are plenty. We're great on time.
Fine.
All right, so on to the main topic. I picked up that organ sound around Halloween and never used it. Now we finally
and now we have.
Yep.
Finally used it as an intro to our main topic tonight about, you guessed it, Meltdown and Spectre. Who else had a terrible week last week because of Meltdown and Spectre? Anybody? How about you guys? Did you deal with Meltdown and Spectre last week?
Can I before we jump to this, I just want to jump in because this just came across my news feed, and I have to share this because I think that this is.
Listen, we're already in the main topic.
No, I understand that. Do you guys heard about the that swatting that happened?
Yes.
A couple weeks ago where the guy died?
Yep.
Nope.
No.
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No, I didn't.
You know what swatting is?
I heard that everybody in Hawaii thought they were going to die for about half an hour.
You know what swatting is?
Yes, I know
Correct?
what swatting is.
Okay. So a couple weeks ago, this guy called in a swatting on somebody online. The SWAT team ended up at the wrong house for one reason or another, and the guy, father of I think 2 young kids, answered the door, and the SWAT team ended up killing him.
Wow.
You can look at it. Yeah, dude was 28 years old. Father of two, unarmed, died after being shot by police.
As soon as he opened the door, like, done, from my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what the reasoning was. Irrelevant. Doesn't matter. They caught the guy.
No, it does matter.
No, I understand that. Yes, that you're missing my point.
Absolutely matter.
Wow.
The point is that why SWAT killed him that's a whole different point. My point is the kid who called in the swatting thing, who had been jumping up and down and like taking
$1,
he's like, wow, I totally did this. This is on me. I guess, it's not my fault they died, but I call SWAT on people all the time. I call in bomb threats, all this other stuff. He's like, he got busted today.
Good.
What an asshole.
Good.
Him's going to jail for a long time, I think.
Good. Freaking punk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he called SWAT on someone and they went to the wrong house.
I think he gave the wrong address.
The wrong address.
The guy who ended up dying in the swatting incident was somebody completely different that had nothing to do with what was going on.
Yeah.
This idiot.
That's the impression I just got from what you said.
Yeah, this idiot that called it in sent him to the wrong house.
Okay.
And
Regardless.
that's the information that I have. That's my understand. But yeah, him's in jail at the moment.
Good.
He
That's terrible.
Okay.
It is.
Hang on. Let's guess how he got caught. Within hours of the
Facebook.
Within hours of the this whole swatting thing and the guy dying, the guy who called in the swatting attempt contacted Krebs for an interview. So
What?
Krebs got all sorts of yeah.
Wait,
Why?
so
I'll send you these links.
He himself called Brian Krebs.
He reached out to Brian Krebs for an interview. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
He must have thought that he was somehow not at fault for all of this and thought, I'm gonna cash in on the fame. Ridiculous.
And, so the whole thing was
what
like,
kind of moron is this kid?
He is. When if I remember correctly in the interview with Krebs, he was talking about how he had no remorse whatsoever, and it's not his deal. He said, I didn't get anyone killed because I didn't discharge a weapon, and being a SWAT member isn't my profession. Right?
That has nothing.
Contrast that with today. I'm sorry, no, Friday. Contrast that with Friday, where he had an interview with a local news station and said he feels a little remorse for what happened.
A little.
I never intended for anyone to get shot and killed.
I wonder what he
yeah,
said. I wonder what he said to the police to get them to send a SWAT team out.
Huh. Quote.
It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know it probably doesn't take much, but in order to get a SWAT team out to someone's house and to put them on a high enough alert that they would have been trigger happy like that, I wonder what he said.
It's usually something along the lines of, there's somebody in the house. He's got hostages. It sounds like they've already killed somebody. I've already heard at least one gunshot. You've got to send somebody to help. Quick, 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 click.
So this poor guy answers the door, does something that keys off the SWAT, and gets shot. That's terrible.
Yeah.
God.
There's a nice little quote from this idiot. Yeah. Bomb threats are more fun and cooler than SWATs, in my opinion, and I should have just stuck with that. He wrote as to an instant message to, I think, Brian Krebs.
Yeah, to Krebs. Yep.
What is wrong with kids today? I know it makes me sound like some crotchety old man, but seriously.
No, I mean, this is
calling in.
Internet. It's anonymous. I get a thrill out of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Anyway, that whole thing, like the whole swatting thing, is insane.
It is.
And I can't, it just boggles my mind that people are stupid enough to do shit like this.
I mean,
I'm happy to see that he got busted.
You and I talked about this a long time ago when this was first a thing, swatting.
Yep.
That is you and I, Jason, because we used to carpool. And I remember having a similar thought, like, just wait till someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now someone got hurt. God, it's terrible.
Yeah, I don't
Absolutely
know.
Terrible.
I don't know if this is the first person to get hurt in a swatting. I don't.
Yeah.
It's the first one that
Reported.
I remember.
First one you know they got caught.
But the kid got caught.
Well, I
25 years old.
I hope this sets a precedent. I hope that other people who are thinking about doing this kind of bullshit realize, hey, you might get someone hurt, and hey, you might get arrested.
Right. So
Because
just to be clear,
that's what you deserve.
this is he's been charged with involuntary manslaughter and faces 11 years in prison for this one incident.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great for the others.
Now, if they can tie him to the others,
yeah, right?
He's got bomb threats and other swatting. To his own word, this isn't. I mean, he has fully admitted to lots of bomb threats and other swattings.
Yeah.
So if they could tie it to him, like that's not going to be good.
That stuff does not go over lightly.
No.
Like,
All right.
not
Sorry for derailing us, but that was something that I had been kind of watching.
All right. So
so back to what's causing other stuff.
And we're back.
Oh boy.
We're back to Iron Sysadmin, guys. No, not to cast light on the issue of swatting and that poor guy who died and his family, but yeah, we have a show to record here.
Indeed.
All right.
Spectre meltdown.
Speculative
Yes.
execution.
Yes. So I watched a very interesting Sans presentation on the whole Spectre meltdown thing last week. Was produced or not produced? It was hosted. Is the word I was looking for. I was trying to find the link here. There's a bunch of links in the show notes that you guys can find. Where's the Sans link? All because I want to make sure I get this guy's name right. Jake Williams, which I believe is Malware Jake on Twitter, right?
Yes.
Good.
Correct.
Anyway, Sans had a nice webcast to describe Spectre and Meltdown because there was a lot of confusion around Spectre and Meltdown because they came out at the same time and everybody was confused as to what was what. And Jake Williams hosted the webcast, and it was a very informative. If you look in the show notes, there's a link to sans.org/webcast/meltdown Spectre understanding mitigating threats 10681/success. I don't know why success is in there, but it is.
That's easy.
So I mean, you have to register with Sans for free, of course. You have to register with Sans to be able to watch this thing, but it's recorded and you can watch it whenever you want to. And I got a lot of really useful information out of it. Meltdown and Spectre they're sort of confusing terms that people have been using almost interchangeably, or at least they were early last week after the vulnerabilities were disclosed. I think January 3rd, if I'm remembering correctly, was the day they were disclosed.
There were some other names for it too.
Oh yes, there are some others that I won't go into. So anyway, there was some speculation that only Intel was affected, and then there was like, oh no, AMD is totally affected too. It turns out that for what was it? I think for Meltdown.
So I think it's Meltdown. According to the article that I'm seeing, AMD is not susceptible to Meltdown. At least they weren't at the time I read this.
What Jake said in the webcast, and I tend to trust him, was that AMD and ARM are theoretically vulnerable, but currently don't exhibit the same problem that Intel does.
Right.
So I guess it has to do with how they're handling these requests, not based on architecture. Apparently the architecture is still vulnerable, but the way they handle these particular commands to the CPU, they aren't exhibiting the same flaw.
Right. So it looks like ARM is susceptible to both.
Mm-hmm.
At least
especially the
one of their processor. Yeah, they're one. At least one of their processors is susceptible to both.
Okay.
But they have a technical white paper out explaining everything.
Oh, good. So Meltdown has to do with sending a bunch of instructions to the CPU out of order, and then reading what goes into the processor's cache. Am I reciting that properly? Because that's the way I understood it.
Yeah, meltdown is I think meltdown is the more difficult one to understand.
Well, I suppose.
Yeah, Spectre. Well, I understand how Spectre works a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it just meltdown's one that's. There was a really good. I wish I knew where it was. There was a really good article that basically identified how one or the other works. Let me see if I can find it. Keep chatting. I'll find it.
Yeah. So for the way I understand it, if you execute the right commands to an Intel CPU, it will throw things into cache, and then you can read that cache back out.
Yep.
And there is a chance that the data that's thrown into cache is data you probably shouldn't have access to, things like memory and whatnot. So you could theoretically pull out things like, private keys or passwords, or in some cases, maybe memory from other VMs when you're on a hypervisor.
Mhm.
So these are all, important things that you don't want to be able to cross-pollinate across processes. Jake said that the best avenue for attack that he could imagine were para-virtualized hosts, things like Zen hosts and Docker, which is gaining so much traction lately because Docker is a shared environment technically because they share the same kernel. So yeah, that's pretty much anything that shares the kernel. So like full virtualization, like KVM and VMware, he was very adamant that he was not going to say they're not vulnerable, but he says he can't picture how they're vulnerable at the moment. So hopefully things like VMware, KVM, VirtualBox, things that do full virtualizations that are not para-virtualized should theoretically not be vulnerable to this. Dustin, you were trying to say something when I was speaking. Do you have something to add?
I don't recall. I think I was adding to something.
Is
Go
Meltdown
ahead.
the one that was called Kaiser or KPTI or had a different name?
I believe so.
Okay. So basically, if I remember correctly, what you could do is it's like three instructions, and that I'll give you the article for this one too. It's three instructions. Basically, what you're saying is, and for those that really know this, you can correct me, but you take an address that you know where something is that you want, like where you want the information, and you throw it into a register, and then you kind of you AND that register with 1, and then you move that result into I guess a user register that's allowed, like somehow, and what pops out on the other end is the original location. So it explains it a lot better. So let's see, load a register from kernel memory, change A to 0 if it was even or 1 if it's odd, load register B for memory location U plus 0 or U plus 1 depending on what A is. And then those three run sort of in parallel. And the way that it works is you can pop out the other side that original register that the original memory location you're looking for, which could be pretty much anything, password or, something in memory that you're looking for. And if you do it enough, you can map everything out.
So you're basically dumping memory into that cache that I was talking about, and then you can read the cache back out.
Yeah, it's slick. It's definitely slick.
Yeah. He also mentioned that Windows was slightly less susceptible to this just because of the way they do addressing in memory. But he said from his perspective, getting 90% of memory is just as good as 100. So not to put too much stock in the Windows is not as vulnerable thing.
Especially if you use a different browser. Apparently there's some array bounds that are variant of Spectre that can, that require Microsoft response to modify Internet Explorer and Edge specifically.
Oh, good.
Because of it being a risk for, I guess, password, like stored passwords, things like that. But I don't remember what else specific.
So
I mean, it
that's
can be
meltdown.
replicated in other browsers, but that was their focus.
So that's meltdown. On the other side of the equation here was spectre, which is
Sorry,
speculative branching.
I was talking about Spectre. My apologies.
You're talking about spectre. Ay, ay, ay.
Right. So spectre is
Right.
when a branch in a program comes up, actually all these days, all processors will run both branches in parallel, expecting trying to go in both directions so that when you choose one, it just drops the result from the other. And I guess the idea is that you can get the information out of the other branch anyway, which can do some interesting things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting indeed.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think what there was a disturbance in the force. It's as if a million hackers at once cried out and said, wait, we can attack the CPU?
Yeah. You may have noticed that there has been a definite uptick in CPU and baseboard and chips on boards attacks now versus software attacks that we've had in the past. So yeah, absolutely. This is like a whole new world. People are like, oh, wait. You mean I don't have to look at someone's assembly code? I can just go look at the processor itself and find vulnerabilities? Yeah. Awesome!
Yep.
Wait, I have an operating system in my processor? Wow.
Whoa!
Why couldn't that get rolled into 2018? Anyways.
Yeah. So, from what I read about Spectre, the difference, one of the core differences is that it deals with user processes versus user space versus kernel space. Like Meltdown had to do with kernel space and user space, where Spectre attaches to a process, like a specific process, and you can get data out of, you can use that speculative branching or whatever to get data you probably shouldn't have out of a certain process. So it's a slightly different attack vector. And I mean, really, this whole deal is, they're both CPU related, but they're not the same. They just came out at the same time. Right? So like all of this confusion between one and the other is really it's really just because they're like coincidental almost.
I don't know what the story is with both of them, like who discovered them, and I mean, my guess would be they're similar, sort of, so it wouldn't surprise me if the same researchers hit them.
I'm pretty sure it was the same researchers, or the same group of researchers anyway, and they were with Project Zero.
Right.
Surprise, surprise. And the reason it was January 3rd that they both came out at the same time was because that was the end of the grace period, the 90 days.
Yes. So this was disclosed. Yeah, this was disclosed.
Responsible disclosure. Yeah.
Back in June or earlier than June. Because companies like Amazon and Google have so if you're an AWS customer or a Google Compute customer, their systems have been patched for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be clear, there's a nuance here, right? So the hypervisors they run, or whatever you want to call them, the underlying systems have been patched.
Right.
If you are running a VM, you still have to patch your VM. Yep. It just means that specific bug is isolated to your VM versus being able to traverse to other VMs.
It means that theoretically no one can use your VM to steal somebody else's VM's data because the hypervisor has been patched. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I am sort of curious as to where this all goes. I have a ton, and I mean like a ton of systems that get patched, and there's no way I'm going to get them done in a short term, right? This is going to be months. So I am really curious to see where this goes and how big of a deal it becomes. Am I going to be like spending the next 48 hours awake patching systems? Or is this really going to be something that I can patch the most important things and then catch the others, during maintenance windows and whatnot?
Well, if you'll be happy to note that the more recent article that I sent you from Ars Technica Spectre and meltdown patches causing trouble as realistic attacks get closer.
Shh.
Yeah.
So
Shh.
so
It's
not
not a thing. Fake news.
not not having patched already is probably saving you more headaches than providing them. I mean, it really depends on what your threat landscape looks like. As a
Yeah.
college, I'm not sure that you're really that. Nation states are not coming to get your data.
We're also
usually.
not like a service provider or
Right.
like a cloud provider in that sense. So
Right.
yeah,
Yep. And
it's a little more of a
apparently-
protected environment.
Yep. Apparently, the meltdown patch specifically is apparently revealing problems in other code.
Yeah, there's a whole other discussion that I thought we'd
Yeah.
follow up with here. The meltdown patch, I don't think it was the Spectre patch, but the meltdown patch on Windows is actually causing blue screens in some cases. And
Right.
there's also incompatibilities with certain antivirus.
Yep.
They won't go into
You're gonna
detail.
registry key.
At least the last time I read, anyway, they wouldn't go into detail as to which antivirus vendors, but certain antivirus vendors, basically the patch won't install unless the antivirus vendor has certified that they are compatible with the patch.
This double pulsar
by writing a registration or a registry key.
Yeah, this double pulsar article that you have in here, he's been tracking which AVs aren't working.
Well, that's handy. I'm gonna go look at that.
So
I think Dustin added.
Apparently, AVs have to add a registry key.
Yep.
Apparently, that fixes it.
But some of them won't add a registry key because the way they work. It's not going to fix it.
The way I understand it is the registry key is the way of them signaling to the patch that we certify this.
Yes. Okay.
The registry key doesn't fix anything. It's like a yes or no. It's like, yep, we verified that we work with your patch.
Got it. Okay. So that said, if you don't get that registry key, your AV doesn't work.
Yeah, manually change it.
Well, no, it's not that your AV doesn't work. It's that
your AV is not signaling.
No, right. It's not that your AV doesn't work. It's that the patch won't install because installing the patch could cause your system to not boot.
Windows troubleshooter can't even help you at that point.
Got it.
Trying to find the list that's in here. I'm just skimming through this article. I don't see it yet. Oh, there's the registry keys. Awesome.
Guys, remember, if it's a Hyper-V host, make sure you fully shut down all virtual machines before making this registry key change.
Oh, God.
Good luck.
Microsoft apparently, let's see, at least at one point was removing. Was it removing or recommending? I don't know. It was switching back to Windows Defender, and they were the AV vendors were jumping up and down and screaming regulatory. We should punish them. Blah blah blah.
Well, that's a whole ethical discussion in itself.
That's actually a path forward. You could remove your antivirus and run Windows Defender.
That has been recommended to me outside of this Meltdown Spectre thing.
Yeah.
I was doing some work and looking for an AV that was, I don't need like, cutting edge, bleeding edge, best of breed, and they said Windows Defender is really, really good compared to a lot of stuff that's out there.
Call me cynical, but pattern-based antivirus is marginally effective as it is.
Sure. If you've got the pattern.
So like your Symantec and your McAfee and your Malwarebytes and your whatevers, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, except for the bells and whistles that each one of them throws in to sweeten the pot, they all do the exact same thing.
And you can also include FireEye in that mix as well. I mean, they do some other interesting things, but ultimately, if they don't know how it works or have an understanding of what patterns it matches to, they can't protect against it.
Yeah. So, I mean, my point is, if you're doing pattern matching antivirus, definition-based antivirus, one vendor's going to be just as good as the next. And if Microsoft is going to release a tool that is free to install on your Windows servers, and it's tested against Windows, and it's not going to be the resource pig that every antivirus I've ever installed in the past 15 years has been.
It's not going
I'm
to
gonna
remove
run it.
DLL files, system
Yeah.
DLL files. Yeah.
Right. Then I'm going to run that, and that's all there is to it. We're I don't want to get into too much detail, but we're in a situation right now where the AV vendor that we use decided to change their license agreement or change their licensing such that it's going to cost us ridiculously more every year to run what we run. So
And you're gonna like it.
no, we're not. We're going to rip all that
Pay
shit
the
out.
tax.
And we're gonna
You're gonna like it.
Go.
It's gonna cost you more to rip it out than it will be to stay with them.
I don't think it will.
I think you're wrong.
Uh,
I'm being completely facetious.
I mean, we're already in fact, Meltdown was the catalyst. We're already working on taking, antivirus vendor X off of all of our Windows servers and running Windows Defender instead. Or they don't call it Windows Defender. I forget the name of it. There's like Microsoft Security something or other for servers or something. Enterprise Endpoint Security or something. That's what they're calling
something
it.
through SCCM. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of it as well.
But yeah, this was the catalyst. It was something we had to do anyway because of the license thing. And now it's just like, oh, well, the antivirus vendors are having problems with Meltdown. Pfft, we're going to rip that shit out. We're going to go the way we were going to go anyway. So
my biggest problem with AV for years now, and I mean, this is going to come as a surprise, guys. I'm sure you've never heard this before. God, it's slow.
It is.
My machine crawls with every single AV I've tried.
That's the point. That's the point I was trying to make. So, the Windows Defender, I mean, I run that on my Windows 10 install on my laptop that I run, as I said before, for like the few games and stuff that I play on it. I don't even notice it's there. It just works. It's just there. It's identified a threat or two, and it's been able to clean them up. And this is exactly what I would expect out of antivirus, and it's working. I mean, maybe it's not cutting edge as, Symantec. Maybe it doesn't come with a built-in firewall that causes you ridiculous headaches. God, do you remember the days when your antivirus used to set up a freaking POP proxy on your machine so it would scan all your emails that came in?
I think they still offer that. At least
do they still do that?
Oh yeah, Symantec may still have it.
When I was doing tech support, that was the biggest freaking headache.
Yep.
I understood why they did it, but when it didn't work, it made it look like it was our problem.
I recall a specific patch that came out for a version of Symantec that had an Outlook plugin, and it caused Outlook to not launch at all.
Awesome.
The only way to get rid of it was to launch it in safe mode or manually remove the registry keys.
What this would do is literally it would, so like say you're using good old Outlook Express. Remember Outlook Express?
Now Windows Mail.
The free Outlook Express, the free Outlook or whatever. Say you were using that. When you installed Symantec or McAfee, or there were a couple others, it would stand up an actual daemon running on your machine, which would stand in between you and your POP or IMAP server. And then it would reconfigure Outlook Express to look at localhost. And then if it didn't work, if Symantec didn't work properly for some reason, it would just say like, oh, I can't connect to your server. It didn't, because Outlook Express didn't know. It's just like, oh, the server I'm configured to look at, I can't get to. No, it looked like the ISP had a problem. So people would call us like, why can't I connect to your mail server? Are you having problems?
Yes.
Nope. Not at all. We're not. Your freaking antivirus got in the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Right. I forgot about that whole thing.
I just had flashbacks to my days.
Oh, scar tissue. Yeah. I'm sorry. AVs, their insistence, and are they still doing that? Like they would set themselves up as proxies for your web server or for your your web browser. They would set themselves up as proxies for your mail client. They would set themselves up as proxies for everything they could. And then when you had a problem connecting to them, it was always like, do you have an antivirus? Yeah. Is it McAfee? Yeah.
Can you turn that off and see if it works?
Okay.
I knew how to turn that
click this.
I knew how to turn that stuff off in every major antivirus in the late 90s.
Yeah. Yep. Oh boy, yeah, that was
And
yeah.
the downside of that whole thing was technically, right? User calls you with a problem. You're trying to help them solve their problem, and by the end of the phone call, you have lessened their security because of it. Because all you had to do was turn off their antivirus. Because I couldn't fix their Symantec problem, and they didn't want to hear call Symantec because all they saw was the internet didn't work.
Yep.
Freaking. Yes. Yes. Bad memories. Bad memories.
Scar tissue.
Anyway, we were talking about Spectre and Meltdown, weren't we? Oh, wasn't there also a problem with AMD with one of these patches where if you installed it on an AMD system, it would actually blue screen?
Yeah, that was Microsoft had an AMD patch that
Couldn't boot Windows anymore.
Couldn't boot Windows.
Yeah.
They looks like most AMD systems will still get the patch, and older machines are being excluded from the patch.
Outright
Look,
excluded. Sorry,
all
you
you have
machine,
to do,
you have to upgrade.
Look, all you have to do, the easiest, quickest solution to this, go out right now, take the CPU out of your machine, smash it with a hammer because it's completely useless now, and go out and buy the latest and greatest version of that CPU, and you'll be golden.
Yeah, yeah, and then the motherboard to support it, and then, well, then
Look,
you'd have to get a new
free.
You'd have to get a new version of Windows too, because doesn't Windows still do that footprint thing? Where
I'm sorry,
like,
I mean, are you expecting like Intel to like recall all these processors or something? That's insane.
I mean, come on.
So they're
gonna remotely patch it with magic.
There is
look,
actually,
if your car has a major problem, do you expect the car manufacturer to recall all of that particular part and fix it? Oh wait, they do that.
Well, they have to federally. Federally, they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad
So there is actually, we checked into this with Dell because we run all Dell servers. Dell actually does have a microcode patch that will.
Now the world knows.
Yes, now the world knows. The Dell does actually have a patch that will patch the microcode. They release it as a BIOS update, if I remember. That's what they're calling it. But
if I remember Dell quite well, as well enough as I remember, you'll have to install the microcode patch, and then you'll reboot. And then the next time you call them, they're going to want you to downgrade that, and then upgrade to the latest.
Right.
And you're going to be continuously in this loop.
Could be
convenient.
Hey, CPUs are like toys, right? Like computers, they're basically toys. Okay, so let's say you had a toy, and there was a problem with the toy and little kids were choking on that toy. You wouldn't expect the toy manufacturer to recall that toy, would you?
You're still on this analogy, are you?
I don't know. I mean, if there's enough of a stake, they will be forced to do it. I mean, look at what happened to Buckyballs or whatever they were, the magnetic balls that kids were swallowing and then like getting their stomachs ripped open because they'd go near something metal. The neodymium magnet.
Really?
Remember those?
I didn't know about that.
I
do
remember, like dropped off the face of the earth.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, my daughter swallowed this, and now she's stuck to the refrigerator. Stop making your product. Well, it is a magnet. Sorry. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
They're like rare earth magnets. Don't let your child eat magnets, and you'll be fine.
Like, I don't know what buyer's remorse you can have. I mean, it's a magnet. It says right on the box. These are strong.
Will make your child stick to the fridge. It's terrible.
Yep. You're welcome.
Right. So anyway, are you going to come up with another recall analogy, Jason?
Okay. So what if this was a medicine?
Nope. They'll just release another medicine to counteract the side effects of that medication.
Yeah. What they're going to do is they're going to put out that Intel processor, and they're going to say, here are some side effects you could have from using this processor. Like not being able to process.
And call our ambulance chasing law firm.
Here's the USB device. Don't ever unplug it.
It's like if your food got infected. Would you? All right, I'm back.
Wow.
So anyway, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are patches for many operating systems.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the world was on fire. The
sky
is falling.
It'll just continue. It'll continue to be on fire. Yeah. So
it's AMD Intelligeddon.
I've dug into the Red Hat patches. Red Hat has released patches for both Spectre. I guess there's 2 variants of Spectre, and there's 1 variant of Meltdown. There are patches for all of these things. The thing I'm not clear on still is whether you have to apply the microcode update before you install these patches, or if they're smart enough that that doesn't matter. So keep that in mind, I suppose.
Yes.
I haven't been through it yet on any physical hardware, so.
Well, hopefully your
Yeah,
pacemaker
remember.
doesn't have an ARM processor in it.
You can attack CPUs now, guys.
You can
It's okay.
attack CPUs now.
Totally attack CPUs.
Talk about all those rings. It's like Sonic. No. User rings? No. Come on. That was a good joke. I gotta be like Sonic. I gotta get all the rings. All right.
We've talked
Fail.
about this. You have to explain it.
I know.
When you first mentioned it, I thought you meant the hamburger joint, and then I realized you're talking about the late '90s, mid '90s hedgehog game. I'm like, what is the? Does he mean onion rings? Oh, he means Sonic. It's a freaking hedgehog.
It's funny. I had so up
You killed
until I got married, I had never heard of Sonic, and
Yeah.
and then
What, the game or the food place? What are we talking about here?
the food? No, the food place. So my wife, we went down. Actually, it was before I was married. We went down. She's from Texas, so we went down to Texas to meet with her family. And while we were down there, she wanted, there were 2 places that she would go that you could get like really good food. One of them was this place called Storms. And Storms, I swear to God, they go out back and they kill the cow while you're waiting and make the burgers. The burgers were amazing.
Is the music
Maybe
really
they
loud
do
in the
that.
kitchen?
Did you hear like a?
Don't mind that sound, guys. We're having a party in the back.
So Storms was amazing. And as far as I know, I've never seen it anywhere outside of Texas. But then there was another place that she would go to called Sonic. And I had never heard of that either. And we went there and it was the food in the burgers and stuff in Texas were way better than what I had in Sonic here. But I had never heard of Sonic before. And then, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe suddenly Sonic is popping up all over the place. They're everywhere. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm kind of a hipster and I knew about this before you guys did. So yeah, that's Sonic.
Blow on the cartridge.
This is Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay, quick, stop it before we have to pay rights.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yes. You know what that reminds me of? The shitty Sonic the Hedgehog. Did you ever see that one? I'll have to find the link.
I don't know that I want to know.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
The music's all distorted and sad. It's great.
What? Now he's gonna look it up.
Yes. There it is. Oh, that's not it.
Except that we can't see it because
Yeah, well,
all we see
I'm
is
trying
your
to
it's
find
smiling
probably it's
face.
probably better that we can't see it.
Probably.
So in other news, I got myself an Aeron chair. I'm like,
How's your butt feel?
happy.
How's
How
your back
good
feel?
is it one like you had at the college?
Yeah, it's the newest, greatest, whatever version. I don't know.
I hope
Apparently they
I hope
changed
they're
them.
not as expensive as they used to be. Otherwise, I would ask you why you didn't buy a used car instead.
They are as expensive as they used to be, and I'll have you know, I've basically been saving since I left the college to get this thing.
They are nice chairs. I would buy one for here if I
God.
could afford it. My God,
Yeah,
they're great chairs.
It was a long time before I could afford it, and I'm so happy I have it. My
You know
back.
what's great about them? If you're very gassy, they breathe very well.
That they do.
There's no trap surprises.
That they do.
Quick buyer's note.
I've got no response to that. I can't.
Yes, the efficiency of this chair for passing things through is wonderful.
I'm gonna go ahead and finish my beer now.
That's a good idea.
I'll
I think
just
we're
drink
done.
my water that I'm out.
I think we're
I'm
done
butter.
talking about Meltdown and Spectre.
You tried, and you cut it off halfway.
Yeah, well,
All
I
right.
didn't. I wasn't gonna play the whole thing again. It's like 30 seconds.
All right. All right.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Oh no, don't worry, that's coming.
Earth-shattering
That's coming.
kabooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be a kaboom when I have to patch all my servers. Because, dear God.
Well, don't
Are
worry
they
because
hyper-reefers?
according to this article, things are still a mess.
Yep, they're going to be for a while, I predict.
Which one? The double pulsar one?
No, the Ars Technica article
Oh, God.
basically
Stop
says
skipping
this is-
around.
This is all a mess. Well, you put 4 articles in there. I mean, you know.
I didn't. That was a group effort.
Yeah, that was
I
a group
put,
effort.
I put like 2 of them in there.
I think I put 2 as well. Jason,
And
you didn't
there's, like-
contribute. How dare you?
There's like 5 in here actually. So one of us put 3 in.
Oh, maybe me. Sorry. I was making up for Jason's lack of effort on this one.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Someone's
My
got
lack of effort. I added an article in there.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I'm just being a jerk. I'm sorry. Don't cry.
Welcome to Iron Sysadmin 2018. We're back, baby.
Indeed. So Danny and I tried to make some predictions for 2018. Do you guys want to throw any in there?
Hmm.
We predicted
More
that
of the
everything
same.
will still be a mess.
It's going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Danny brought up that we stopped naming vulnerabilities, and then like the very next day I heard about Spectre and Meltdown.
I'm waiting for the songs.
Oh, I can't wait.
And what
Yeah.
you know, I mean, realistically, I mean, if you guys are
Theme
gonna
songs,
create
celebrity
these and you're gonna
endorsements,
give them
you know.
names, so that you name them, you come up with an icon for them, and it has to be like an emoji style icon,
Yep,
you know, something
absolutely.
small, quick, easy, right? Come up with a tagline, right? Like you got to come up with some cool thing you can say that is, as a
Meltdown.
tagline.
Yeah,
All
but the
your
problem is
cash
a lot of
are
times
belong to
like,
us.
You're fucked.
There you go. I mean, that was easy. Nate came up with it in like 2 seconds. Put some effort into this, okay? I mean, show some
Honed.
pride in this thing that you've broken.
But it should absolutely, this should be a requirement for responsible disclosure.
Agreed.
If you're gonna make a logo and a name, there needs to be a theme song.
I mean, you
there
have
needs to
90
be a
days,
celebrity endorsement. Yeah,
You have 90
right.
days
I mean,
before it's
there's
publicly
plenty of
disclosed.
time to come up with these things.
We need a buildup of logos so that at B-Sides Delaware we can do another T-shirt of logos as one of our themes for the year.
There
That
you
would
go.
be
So
awesome.
if you could all help out, find some crazy vulnerabilities, come up with a really good logo and a name for it. We'll put you
it's
on our
really,
t-shirt.
It's really more about the logos than it is
Yes,
about
It
the
is.
security
It's all about the logo
at this point.
and the song.
And the song. Well, you can't put a song.
Okay,
on a-
I've heard
on a
I've heard
t-shirt.
like the BSD song. I'm pretty sure we don't want them making up songs.
There's
I
a
love the
BSD
BSD
song.
songs. There's
You
lots
would.
of songs from FreeBSD. Every release, well, it used to be. I don't know if they still release them. I think they do.
Should I look this up, or are we gonna
Oh,
get
they're
a?
wonderful.
Okay, do it offline. Also, if you end up with an earworm, it's your own
I
damn
mean,
fault.
I judging from the sort of people that are in the BSD community, I could only imagine what kind of songs they come up with.
Sir,
They're
what
fun.
what do you mean by that?
Have you read the mailing list? There was clearly a post about this in 1996.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I
guess
guess you've run into some BSD people too.
Yes, I have.
They're not all bad. It's a joke.
Yes,
Laugh with us
it's
or
hilarious.
at us.
Everybody
works,
laugh.
too.
Everybody laugh and have a beer because that's what we've done.
I've run out. It's
Except
empty.
apparently for Dustin, who's drinking water, I think.
Yeah, I unfortunately signed up to run a half marathon, so I have to be good to my body, apparently, even though I want to drink.
Oh, you should look up what they call it.
Guys, seriously, this
It is
this
really
is
good.
amazing.
I
This
have
is
to
such a good power.
I have to look this up. There was the Runner's World had a podcast up until recently. They recently switched names and whatnot, and I didn't like the new format, so I stopped listening.
Hiking
But
World?
huh?
I don't know.
It was no. Well,
ignore me.
they did a segment on this thing, and I can't remember the name. There was a special name for it. It's basically a type of run where you have to run like a quarter mile and then chug a beer, and then run a quarter mile and chug a beer.
I've heard of this.
And
Yes,
run a
I've
quarter
heard of this.
mile and chug a beer. And there's like competitions for this. It might have just been called a beer run or something. I can't remember now, but it was like, this is a thing. There's an actual, this is an actual competition. There's like championships and everything.
I think we should organize one called the Iron Sysadmin Beer Sprint.
I have absolutely no interest in doing this because it sounded like a horrible thing. I remember.
Oh, it'd be wonderful. Horribly
I
wonderful.
remember the pain, which is running. And I can't imagine doing it after chugging a beer.
But it gets easier. And then,
And
it
then
gets
doing
worse,
it
like,
again and
instantly.
again and again. It just sounds like a terrible idea.
If you go enough miles, you won't remember any of it.
Yeah, right. Well, apparently these were like seasoned runners, and they got through like 2 laps, and they're like flat out on the ground throwing up.
Well, sure.
Did not
That's because they're
sound-
seasoned runners.
They're not seasoned drinker.
Meanwhile, the guys who sit in the bar all day long and haven't
Oh,
exercised in 10 years.
There was a guy. There was a guy on their staff who's like all about craft beer and stuff, and he's not the greatest runner, but he's all about the craft beer. He won.
Wow. Wow.
Because all the other runners are like passed out,
Drunk?
throwing up.
Yeah, they're drunk. Meanwhile, he can take the beer.
He's just like, "Yup, I'm good."
Doo-doo-doo. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the key to winning those things is more about your alcohol tolerance than your ability to run.
Indeed. I so wanted to have a beer tonight, but I know I will regret it tomorrow when I try to do anything physical.
I feel very sad for you.
Don't feel sad for me. I did it to myself.
I
Oh,
feel
believe
very
what?
sad for your lack of judgment.
Yeah, well. Like they say, it's the people you're around that influence you. No,
So-
I mean, I'm happy to do it. I think it'll be
So
cool.
no, it's awesome, man. If you can run a half marathon, more power to you. I don't think that I
Never
could.
have.
Huh? You never
I said I
have,
never
but
had. My first
you're
one.
going to try, and if you succeed, that's what I'm saying. You'll do, like,
If
more
I
power to you.
succeed and I don't die from an asthma attack afterwards, you will see me on the next podcast whenever that happens in April. But if not, you know what happened.
Okay, so we'll expect a full report. In fact,
You'll have to wait till April.
every mile of the half marathon, you have to chug a beer.
Ugh. I won't make it very far. What kind of beer is it? Are we talking like
Dude, he's a
PBR? Are we
lightweight to
talking-
begin with.
You could go cheap, low ABV beer. Something
Alright.
that's
Milwaukee's
just-
best.
just
Oh.
replace your water stops with Coors Light or something.
That is, I mean, that is water. We can go.
It is. It's yellow bubbly water. So there, you just do that. It'll be just like Gatorade.
Oof. Oof. Yeah. As Jason said, I'm a lightweight, so that might have been caused me to go the other way on the track.
Yeah, but running will help you
Whatever.
metabolize the beer faster.
True, I do need carbs. I do need a carb load.
At least that's what I'm going with. I don't know if it's true or not. You let us know in April.
No idea. Okay.
Anyway, that's awesome. I hope that your beer fasting and your training that I hope you're doing pays off and you're able to finish a half marathon.
I hope so. I hope
My
so. Thank you, sir.
My sister does half marathons.
Oh,
and
cool.
She's told me about it. She said she enjoys it. I don't know. There's apparently one here in my hometown coming up.
Interesting.
In March, I think it is. Might even be April. I don't know.
If you guys want to see me run a marathon, keep waiting because it ain't never going to happen.
If I find a Tyrannosaurus Rex,
Ever.
if I find a Tyrannosaurus Rex and train it to chase you, I will see you run a half
Then
marathon.
we will see it.
Right?
Yes.
Only if you're riding on top beating a drum.
Polka will never die.
And if you got that reference, you're in.
If you got that reference, you probably watched the first 14 episodes of Iron Sysadmin.
Yes. 15, 14.
15.
When
I
is the
forget
new one coming out.
I forget which book we were on when we got to episode 15 of the podcast.
Was that before or
where
after?
is
I wrote
the
that
new one?
terrible
Damn it!
review?
What's that, Dustin?
Was that before or after I wrote that terrible review that I corrected and you guys were picking on me for a while?
Oh, this was before I met you, I believe.
No,
No, I guess I met you at DerbyCon last year.
no,
Not
2
last
years
year
ago.
now, 2
June
years
5th
ago.
is the new. He's got a new book coming out on June 5th.
Impossible.
Well,
Inconceivable.
it's not. It's another anthology.
Oh no, I want another Dresden book.
So guys,
Yeah.
stop teasing. Who is this?
Jim
'Cause I
Butcher.
couldn't tell you.
Jim Butcher.
Nope, not what I've guessed.
Go read the Dresden Files now.
I have
In
a lot of other books I still haven't finished.
You need to read them
If I start
before
another
we.
book,
You need to read them before we record another episode because you cannot be on this podcast if you haven't read the Dresden Files.
fair enough.
You've been on a trial thus far.
Ooh, probationary period. All right.
Okay, I think we have covered. What were we talking about again?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what he's
Covered.
doing.
Meltdown Inspector. No.
Don't know what
You're
who's
busy
doing.
sorry.
looking into. You're
I'm-
busy looking into the next Dresden book. All right. So
Yeah, I'm trying desperately to find the new Dresden book. I don't know what the hell he's been doing.
while you're doing that, I'm just going to say, folks, you know where to find us on various podcast places. I forget if I've announced this already, but we have ironsysadmin.com up and running on WordPress now. Did you guys know that? I don't know if you knew
I know
that or
you're
not.
talking about doing
Wow.
This happened somewhere in December, if I remember correctly. I've sort of lost track.
I can't believe you went to WordPress.
What else would I
I'm
have
okay
done?
with that.
Drupal
I like
again?
WordPress.
Anyway, it just works, man. It works. It works well.
It does.
I still intend to have Charles on the podcast at some point to talk about WordPress. I was going to do that before I ever moved to WordPress so that I could get some advice from him on to what not to do. But, well, you know.
Oh, you left your default.
Yeah,
meta.
but
I'm not happy.
he hates you, so
Man, some of the directions that I got for setting up WordPress, I looked at it and I'm like, people do this? Things like, oh, you have to make your web root writable by Apache because that way a WordPress can download updates automatically. I'm like, yeah.
oh yeah, that's
and
probably a bad idea.
so can all the bad guys. This is a bad
delete your
idea.
README file?
So
Nope.
so I wrote to Charles as my resident WordPress expert, and I said, "Do people really do this?" And he says, "Yeah, we don't." Like, okay, I'm not gonna do it either. So anyway, yes, ironsysadmin.com. It's finally a real thing. I've been talking about it for years. It's now its own website on WordPress. So, God, I update that thing like every 27 minutes because I'm so paranoid about some WordPress exploit.
Well, there you go.
You
if you're a
delete the
hacker and you're
README
trying
file.
to attack, if you get
You've got
in
a 20
under
you
the
have a
27-minute mark,
7-minute window to get in there. and whenever the next WordPress 0-day drops. Facebook,
Yeah, it
Twitter,
looks
the
pretty.
usual Iron Sysadmin places, YouTube, you know, all the cool stuff. Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play. Yeah, and Patreon. Again, we already covered this, but thank you to everyone who gives us money. It's awesome. So with that, I think we're going to call it a night, guys. You got anything else you want to say before we do?
it's good to be back.
It is.
Yes,
It
indeed.
is good to be back, and I know it's late, but Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had a good Christmas, holidays, whatever you celebrate. So awesome. We will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Have a good one. All right, awesome. Another Iron Sysadmin in the books. So to anyone who did tune in on YouTube, thanks for watching. Didn't see anybody in the chat. Come chat with us. It's fun stuff. All right.
It is an odd week. So
It is. Well, this is a normal week.
is it?
It should have been. Yeah.
I think we're off by one.
No.
I don't know.
That's not what the calendar said anyway. All right. I'm going to stop the broadcast. Good night, YouTube.